Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another band ranking video. Today I'm going to be ranking in what is in my opinion the greatest thrash metal band of all time. One of the big four, of course I'm talking about Slayer. Slayer have been true to their roots from their debut album until their retirement and their last album. They never really changed their sound like Megadeth or Anthrax or Metallica did. For me, Slayer was they were the most steady of the big four. And I'm just going to get right into it. Only ranking the studio albums, no EPs, no covers albums, no live albums. And Slayer for me is one of my favorite bands of all time. So it's hard for me to put one last because I like all these albums and I don't think there's a terrible Slayer album at all. Maybe there's some songs I might skip over, but actually that's a lie. I don't really skip over them. I just listen to everything all the way through. Anyway, to get right into it. Coming in last for me is 1998's Diabolus and Musica. Really cool cover. Very simple but satanic looking. I like it. The album starts off strong with Bitter Peace, Death's Hand, State of Mind, Overt Enemies, cool, Perversion of Pain. And then it kind of dies down, and The Name of God's okay. Scrum, point to end it. But again, when this album came out, metal was kind of suffering through the late 90s. Obviously, the black metal and death metal scene of the early to mid to, makes basically the whole 90s. Was thriving, but it was very underground. Slayer was a household name by this point, and the most popular metal at this time, the most commercial metal, was nu metal, featuring bands like Korn, Deftones, Limp Bizkit. So I feel like Slayer kind of took some, I don't want to say influence from them, but they kind of tried to do a little bit to appeal to that audience, but Slayer did not do that. Slayer just needed to be Slayer. That's all they needed to do. Coming next, this was actually released on September 11th, 2001, that terrible, tragic day. This is God Hates Us All. Again, this is released at the height of nu metal. Slayer was doing stuff like Ozfest, Slipknot, System of a Down were two of the biggest bands in the world at the time, Disturbed. This album was pretty cool. There's some good songs on here. I like Disciple, God Send Death is great. And they actually had a hit, a minor hit, with Bloodline. It was featured on MTV. The first time a Slayer video has been featured on MTV in quite some time up till then. It was actually in the Dracula 2000 movie and the soundtrack. Another song called Warzone was featured in the Marvel Punisher movie. So yeah, Slayer, this album definitely puts Slayer back on the map a little bit, but again, it still has a little bit of the nu metal influence in it. Coming next, Christ Delusion. This is from 2006. Features a returning Dave Lombardo on drums. But nothing too memorable. Nothing like the early stuff with Lombardo. Fleshstorm opens it up. Catalyst. Skeleton Christ I like. Eyes of the Insane's a good song. And Jihad. They were actually released as singles, but obviously didn't do much. Didn't get any radio play, as Slayer really doesn't. Cult is cool. Supremacist. Overall, decent album, but when you heard Dave Lombardo was coming back, you expect something terrific, and they didn't really hit it. A little more, definitely more thrashier than the previous album, God Hates Us All, but not the first Slayer album I'd grab. Coming next, to follow up, this is World Painted Blood. Really good album. The title track's amazing. Definitely a lot thrashier. Again, Dave Lombardo is on this album. Snuff is a great song. Beauty Through Order, Hate Worldwide, Public Display of Dismemberment, Psychopathy Red, Not of This God. I mean, you got these great, Slayer titles again, and this is the re-released cover here. When this was originally released, I had a red slip cover on it, which said Slayer on it. Kind of I think it was like kind of a plastic cover that hid the actual cover, but it was you could see through it. You could see that underneath it. Coming in next, this might surprise a lot of people. I love this album, Repentless from 2015. This is the last studio album Slayer would release, and it probably is their last. They say they retired. We'll see. Opens up an instrumental, Delusions of Savior, Repentless, which had a video. It's kind of a minor hit for them. Cast the First Stone is cool. When Stillness Comes. Piano Wire is a great song. You Against You and Pride and Prejudice. Unfortunately, Jeff Hanneman had passed away His last album with Slayer was World Painted Blood. So Slayer was joined on guitar by Gary Holt, who has been with Exodus since the beginning. So he's another great thrash band, great thrash guitarist. So Gary Holt did a great job filling in. And there are some songs written by Jeff Hanneman, some unfinished songs on this that they finished. And this is the deluxe edition CD from Nuclear Blast, which comes with a bonus DVD, a full concert live at Wacken 2014. Again, another controversial cover there from Slayer. All right, coming in next, Divine Intervention from 1994. First album they would do without Dave Lombardo. They recruited Paul Belstaff on drums, who had some affiliation with the band, so he knew all the stuff. Really thrashy album. Again, it came out in '94, so thrash was kind of dying down at the time. Wasn't as big as it was. You had the biggest metal band in the '90s, Pantera, up against that's who you had to compete with, and Slayer did a pretty good job with this album. Killing Fields, it opens, it's great. Fictional Reality, probably my favorite off of this album. The title track's amazing. Divine Intervention, obviously. Serenity Murder is great. Circle of Beliefs is a cool song. I always like the cover art. It's not too satanic, but it's evil enough. And then you open the tray, and I'm sure this would not be allowed today, but then you got the whoever it is, man or woman, carving Slayer with a razor blade into their wrists, and it's featured on the disc also. But yeah, for 1994, pretty good album. Paul Belstaff does a great job filling in with Dave Lombardo. He's obviously not Dave, but really good album. All right, now we're down to the top 5. Coming number 5 for me from 1983. This is the debut album from Slayer. This is Show No Mercy. Very kind of DIY cover there, but it features that great iconic logo of Slayer. Amazing record. Evil Has No Boundaries, The Antichrist, Die by the Sword, Fight Till Death, Metal Storm, Face of Slayer, Black Magic, Tormental, Defile, On Command, Cryonics, which is amazing, and a title track to end the album. This came out basically in the year thrash metal was born. Metallica's Kill 'Em All came out earlier in the year, and I believe this came out in like December of '83. And Slayer was definitely a band to be reckoned with. Featured on Metal Blade Records. And the funny thing is, you actually see Kerry King, Hanneman, and Lombardo all wearing eye makeup in the pictures. They almost look like a cross between Celtic Frost and I guess I'm going to say early Motley Crue even. Sorry, Slayer fans, for comparing them to Motley Crue. Even though Celtic Frost was, a year later. Really good debut from Slayer, and definitely foreshadowed things that were to come. Coming number 4 for me, from 1985, Hell Awaits. A lot of people say this is Slayer's greatest album. I disagree. Great album. I love it, but not Slayer's best album, in my opinion. I mean, the title track that opens the album is just so sinister, and you hear that, you're just like, what the hell is this? Obviously, which is Hell Awaits. I think it's about 7 minutes long, just a thrash masterpiece. In a Kill Again, great. At Dawn They Sleep is a great song. Then it kind of feel like, I don't want to say dies down, because it's still thrashy, it's still heavy, it's still super fast. But I feel like the first 3 songs are much stronger than Praise of Death. Necrophiliac's cool. Crypts of Eternity, and Hardening of the Arteries. I always love the name of that song. I just feel like it's such a cool title. It just, shouts heaviness and hardness and just thrash, evil, Hardening of the Arteries. Great. I mean, look at the album artwork. Amazing. Again, such like almost DUI. Not the greatest artist, but really cool drawing. It just fits. I mean, you see this cover in a record store, you'll know Slayer is. You're picking it up, especially if you're a metalhead. All right, coming number 3 for me. This one holds a special place in my heart. This is Seasons in the Abyss. Released in 1990. This will be the last album with Dave Lombardo in 16 years before he would come back with Christ Delusion. The reason this has a special place in my heart is this is the first Slayer album I ever owned. And I actually since has bought the remastered version on American Records. Well, it was always on American Records. I think it was Def Jam American was the original release, but I don't know. I just remember having a red spine and said Season of the Abyss. Opens up with War Ensemble. Great song. They always include in their live set. In the Blood Red. Cool, quick 2-minute song. Spirit in Black is great. Expendable Youth. Dead Skin Mask, they slow it down a little bit. It's a song basically about Ed Gein, kind of telling a story of him. So sinister, and had such an evil, slowed down riff. Hallowed Point, Skeletons Aside is great. Temptation, Born of Fire, and it ends with the amazing Seasons in the Abyss title track. I love that video where they're kind of just out in the desert playing. It's just slow and it's just super heavy and dark. It's such a great album. And I remember I just got into Slayer. I heard Slayer from like the very first Ozfest compilation, which was back in like '95. And I actually remember buying this on the Ocean City, New Jersey boardwalk used. And I was younger at the time, so I saw the cover and I was like, well, it's not that bad. I mean, it's not like God Hates the Soul, which wasn't out at the time, but you know, it wasn't super offensive in case my parents saw it. But really cool album. All right, coming number 2. South of Heaven, thrash masterpiece. Again, a lot of people will put this at number 1 on their list. Probably one of the greatest opening tracks of all time, with the title track, South of Heaven. Silent Scream, Live Undead, Behind the Crooked Cross is great. Mandatory Suicide, another great song. They always incorporate it in their live set. Ghost of War, Read Between the Lies, Cleanse the Soul, Dissident Aggressor, Spill the Blood. Such a cool album. Again, Lombardo's drumming on here is just insane. His vocals are great. Just over a masterpiece. Such a classic album. Again, super thrashy, super fast, but it was actually slow compared to the album that came before that. But before I show my number 1, which obviously you probably figured out by now, I just want to show 2 honorable mentions, only because I love these albums just as much. From 1996, this is Undisputed Attitude. This is a covers album. Basically, this is stuff that influenced Slayer, like hardcore and punk songs from the late 70s, early 80s. There's also stuff like I'm Gonna Be Your God, which was originally I Want to Be Your Dog by the Stooges. You know, stuff from bands like Minor Threat is on here. And there's one song that ends it called Gemini, which is actually a Slayer original. That's the only one. But I remember reading in the liner notes of this that originally Slayer wanted to do a covers album with a lot of their metal influences, but they didn't feel like it felt with the speed punk, their top influence, so they decided just to do all punk songs. And really cool, I actually, you know, found out a lot of other bands through this album. I like it a lot. But again, it's not a studio album, so it's not ranking, it's only an honorable mention. As in this, I mean, wow. In my opinion, the greatest EP of all time, Haunting the Chapel. 4 songs, just absolute perfection. Chemical Warfare, Captor of Sin, Haunting the Chapel, and obviously the cover of Aggressive Perfector. Jesus, this is like amazing. Like I said, only 4 tracks, and when this ends, you just want to start it over again. Such a good album, the greatest EP ever in my opinion. So good. And this would actually follow up Show No Mercy. This was released in '84, I believe. Yeah, '84. Then he released a live album, Live Undead. And coming at number 1 for me, as you guessed it, in my opinion, the greatest thrash metal album of all time, Rain and Blood. Basically a half hour, 10 tracks, amazing. I mean, I don't think there's ever been a better album than this. It's just one of my favorite albums of all time. Opens up with Angel of Death. Just that screen that introduces it is just amazing. Kind of a morbid song talking about the Holocaust. And that was actually the first song I really heard by Slayer. That was the song that was featured on the Ozfest 95 compilation, which got me into Slayer. But, you know, being younger, I didn't have enough money to buy this. This was like a $15, $18 album at the time, which is why I found Seasons in the Abyss used as the first Slayer album I bought. Piece by Piece, Necrophobic, Altar of Sacrifice, and The Jesus Saves. Absolutely amazing. Criminally Insane, Reborn, Epidemic, Postmortem, into Raining Blood. Raining Blood is just one of the greatest breakdowns of all time. I just love it. Obviously, one of the greatest licks of all time. That intro is just amazing. And it's one of the songs a lot of people one of the first songs you learn on guitar, especially if you're a metal artist. So yeah, that is my ranking of my Slayer albums. Going to go over it again real quick. Number 1, Rain and Blood. Number 2, South of Heaven. Number 3, Seasons in the Abyss. Number 4, Hell Awaits. Number 5, Show No Mercy. Number 6, Divine Intervention. Number 7, Repentless. Number 8, World Painted Blood. Number 9, Christ Delusion. Number 10, God Hates Us All. And number 11, Diabolus and Musica. Okay, everyone, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe. I have many more videos coming. Planning on doing one on Rush very, very soon, maybe tonight. Not sure, but ranking Rush's studio albums is coming up next. And as always, if you want to see more of my collection, I post a lot on Instagram. It's at Gary the Elysiums. And yeah, a lot of cool things coming. I'm playing a show this weekend, so like getting a lot of practice in, getting prepared. First show I'm playing in 14 months. So yeah, I got a lot going on, but I'm getting these videos in here. But like I said, please subscribe. You get all the updates every time I upload a video. Thanks for watching.